Professor Zyx'norp slithered into the lecture hall, his gelatinous form jiggling with each undulation. The class of young, impressionable alien students quieted down, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs focusing on their instructor. Today's lesson, Deathworlders 101, with a special focus on the most infamous of them all, humans. Greetings, class, Zyx'norp gurgled, his speech glands pulsating rhythmically. Today we delve into the fascinating and terrifying world of those bipedal nightmares known as humans. Now, who can tell me what makes humans so special? Anyone? Anyone at all? Don't be shy. I promise I won't bite. Unlike our subject matter, Ha. A timid Florbonian raised one of its 7 tentacles. Professor? Is it true that humans can survive being cut in half? Zyx'norp's epidermis rippled with amusement. Oh, my dear student, if only it were that simple. Humans aren't some sort of magical regenerating creatures. Though, given their penchant for surviving the unsurvivable, I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually evolved that ability just to spite the universe. The class tittered nervously, a mix of chirps, clicks, and bubbling sounds filling the air. No. Zyx'norp continued, what makes humans truly special is their incredible ability to keep going long after any sane species would have called it quits and gone home for a nice, relaxing molt. You see, humans have this thing called endurance. It's like they have an internal battery that just keeps going. A Valaxian student in the back row raised all 4 of its eye stalks in confusion. Battery. Like in our hover chairs. Ah, excellent question. Zyx'norp's body briefly flashed a vibrant purple with excitement. Not quite, but the analogy isn't far off. You see, humans have this remarkable ability to push themselves beyond their normal limits. They call it second wind or pushing through the wall. Imagine if your hover chair could suddenly decide it wasn't done for the day and kept going even after its power source was depleted. The students exchanged worried glances, probably imagining runaway hover chairs terrorizing their home planets. Now, let me tell you a story, Zyx'norp said, settling into his teaching puddle. It's about a human named Dave and his first day at the Galactic Ultra-Marathon. Buckle up, kids. This one's a doozy. Dave stood at the starting line of the 37th annual Galactic Ultra-Marathon, surrounded by aliens of all shapes, sizes, and states of matter. He was the first human to ever qualify for this event, and boy, did he stick out like a sore thumb. Or rather, like the only creature with thumbs. Hey there, Fleshy Bipe chirped a cheerful voice next to him. Dave turned to see what looked like a sentient cloud of glitter addressing him. I'm Sparkle 7. You must be the human everyone's been talking about. Gotta say, you look solid. Dave grinned, deciding to play along. Thanks, I try to keep in shape. Though I guess for you, being in shape is more of a conceptual thing. Ha! Sparkle 7 flickered in what Dave assumed was laughter. Oh, you're funny. I like you, human. But I have to ask, are you sure you're up for this? This race is no walk in the nebula, you know. Oh, don't worry about me, Dave said with a wink. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. Or I would if I were wearing sleeves. Sleeveless shirt, better aerodynamics, you know. Before Sparkle 7 could respond, a booming voice echoed across the starting area. Welcome, participants, to the 37th annual Galactic Ultra-Marathon. As always, the race will cover 1,000 standard galactic units across various terrains and atmospheres. Remember, use of personal transportation devices, teleportation, or quantum tunneling is strictly prohibited. Now, on your mark, get set, go. And they were off. Dave started at a steady pace, knowing he had a long way to go. Around him, aliens zoomed, floated, oozed, and phased their way forward. Sparkle 7 wafted past him, leaving a trail of shimmering particles in its wake. See you at the finish line, Dave the glittery cloud called out. Don't forget to have fun. Dave just smiled and kept running. He knew the real race wouldn't start for a while yet. As the hours ticked by, Dave maintained his pace. He watched as many of the early leaders began to slow down or stop entirely. Sparkle 7 had condensed into a much smaller, less exuberant puff. Hey there, Glitter Buddy, Dave said as he jogged past. How's the weather up there? Oh, Sparkle 7 groaned, its voice now more of a wheeze than a chirp. I think I'm experiencing precipitation. Is this what you solids call sweating? It's disgusting. How do you stand it? Dave laughed. "Oh, trust me, I'm sweating buckets too. But that's all part of the fun." Fun Sparkle 7 flickered weakly. "You humans have a strange definition of fun. I think I need to take a break and recharge my particles." As Sparkle 7 drifted off to a rest station, Dave pressed on. The race continued through various environments: sweltering deserts, frigid tundras, low-gravity moons, and even a brief stint through a gelatinous planet that left Dave feeling like he'd just run a marathon in strawberry jello. Halfway through the race, Dave found himself running alongside a Zorgax, a species known for their impressive stamina and natural rocket propulsion system. "I must say, human," the Zorgax rumbled, its voice like gravel in a blender. "I'm impressed you've made it this far, but surely you must be nearing your limits." Dave, covered in sweat, alien goo, and what he hoped was just mud, flashed a tired but determined grin. "Oh, you know what they say, humans are like batteries. We keep going and going." The Zorgax's eye stalks twirled in confusion. Batteries. But don't those eventually run out of power? Dave's grin widened. "Ah, but that's the beauty of it. We can recharge on the go." With that, Dave reached into his pocket and pulled out a small packet. He tore it open with his teeth and squeezed the contents, a sickly sweet energy gel, into his mouth. The Zorgax watched in horror. "By the cosmic void. Are you eating yourself?" Dave nearly choked on his energy gel as he burst out laughing. No, it's just fuel. Food. To keep me going." Fuel? The Zorgax seemed even more perplexed. "You mean you don't photosynthesize or absorb ambient cosmic radiation? How inefficient." Maybe Dave shrugged, picking up his pace. "But it gets the job done. See you at the finish line." As Dave pulled ahead, he could hear the Zorgax muttering behind him, "Fuel. Through the mouth hole. How barbaric, yet effective." The race wore on, and the number of competitors dwindled. Many had dropped out, their various energy systems depleted or their non-Newtonian fluids too agitated to continue. But Dave kept going, one foot in front of the other, fueled by a mixture of determination, stupidity, and an ungodly amount of caffeine and simple carbohydrates. As he entered the final stretch, Dave found himself neck and neck with a Valaxian, a species of energy beings known for their speed and efficiency. "Most impressive, human," the Valaxian hummed, its form flickering like a neon sign. "But surely you must be nearing total systemic failure? Your biological processes cannot sustain this level of output indefinitely." Dave, looking like he'd been through a war fought entirely with sports drinks and protein bars, managed a wheezy laugh. That's where you're wrong, buddy. You see, the secret to human endurance isn't about not getting tired." The Valaxian's energy field pulsed quizzically. "Oh? Do enlighten me, as we approach the culmination of our shared endeavor." "The secret," Dave panted, reaching into his pocket for his last energy gel, "is being really, really good at ignoring the fact that we're tired." With that, Dave squished the entire energy gel packet into his mouth, wrapper and all. The Valaxian watched in a mix of horror and fascination as Dave's face contorted, trying to separate the edible gel from the inedible packaging without using his hands or stopping running. That the Valaxian flickered, its tone a mixture of disgust and awe. "That cannot be beneficial to your continued existence." Dave, finally managing to swallow the gel and spit out the wrapper, flashed a manic, gel-stained grin. "Probably not, but watch this." With a burst of speed that surprised even him, Dave surged forward. His legs burned, his lungs felt like they were full of lava, and he was pretty sure he could taste colors, but he didn't slow down. The Valaxian, caught off guard by this display of sheer human stubbornness, fell behind. As Dave crossed the finish line first place, to the shock of everyone, including himself, he finally allowed himself to feel just how utterly exhausted he was. He stumbled forward a few more steps, then gracefully face-planted into the ground. The race officials, unsure of how to handle a victorious but possibly dead human, cautiously approached. One of them, a multi-limbed being with a clipboard, nervously prodded Dave with an appendage. Excuse me, Victor Dave? Are you functional?" Dave, his voice muffled by the ground, managed to grunt out, "5 more minutes, Mom. I don't want to go to school today." The officials exchanged worried looks. One of them leaned down and whispered urgently, "Should we call an exobiologist? I think it's broken. Do humans usually leak this much?" Just then, Sparkle 7 wafted across the finish line, now barely more than a puff of glitter. Oh my, it wheezed, condensing next to Dave's prone form. Is he? Wait, is he still alive? As if in answer, Dave slowly rolled over onto his back, his eyes unfocused and a loopy grin on his face. "Hey there, Twinkle 3. Did you see? I won, I think. Unless this is some weird death hallucination. In which case, why does the afterlife smell like feet and broken dreams?" Sparkle 7 flickered in relief. "It's Sparkle 7, actually. And yes, you won." It was. Honestly, it was terrifying to watch. Especially that last part with the thing you ate, package and all. How are you even alive? Dave managed to prop himself up on his elbows, looking around at the gathering crowd of amazed and slightly nervous aliens. "Oh, you know, human stuff. We're like the galaxy's cockroaches, incredibly hard to kill, and we'll eat pretty much anything." A murmur ran through the crowd. One brave soul, a floating orb of pulsating light, ventured forward. "Excuse me, Deathworlder Dave. We're all curious, how did you manage to maintain your energy levels throughout the race? Our scans showed your bioelectric field fluctuating wildly, yet you never stopped." Dave, finally managing to sit up properly, laughed. "Ah, well, that's the secret of human endurance, my floaty friend. We've got 2 settings, go and go harder. And we're really bad at listening to our bodies when they try to switch to a 3rd setting called please stop before you die." The crowd of aliens leaned in, fascinated and horrified in equal measure. "You see," Dave continued, warming to his subject, "humans are persistent predators. Back on Earth, before we had fancy tools, we'd chase our prey until it literally collapsed from exhaustion. So we evolved to just keep going. And then we took that ability and decided to use it for fun, because apparently, we're all secretly masochists." The Zorgax in the crowd raised a tentacle. But how? Our scientists have studied human physiology. You have clear biological limits." Dave grinned. "Ah, but that's where the real human superpower comes in. We're really good at ignoring those limits. Pain? That's just weakness leaving the body. Exhaustion? A state of mind. The feeling that your very soul is trying to escape your meat prison to make the suffering stop. That's what we call hitting your stride." The aliens muttered among themselves, a mix of awe, disbelief, and genuine concern for Dave's mental well-being evident in their various forms of communication. Sparkle 7, who had been quietly re-glitterizing itself, spoke up. "But surely, Dave, you must have some sort of internal power source. Some biological battery that allows for this continued exertion." Dave considered this for a moment, absent-mindedly accepting a towel from one of the race officials. "Well, I suppose you could say we do have a kind of battery. We call it stupidity. It's this wonderful ability to convince ourselves that we're not actually as tired as we feel." He paused to wipe his face, leaving streaks of dirt and what he hoped wasn't alien slime on the towel. "But here's the real kicker, that battery. It needs recharging too, which is why, if you'll excuse me, I'm about to demonstrate another unique human ability." With that, Dave lay back down, curled up into a fetal position, and promptly fell asleep. Right there, on the finish line, surrounded by a crowd of increasingly concerned aliens. The race officials looked at each other in panic. One of them, a hovering mass of tentacles clutching a rulebook, frantically flipped through the pages. This isn't covered in the regulations. What do we do if the winner enters a state of biological shutdown immediately after victory?" Sparkle 7, now fully reformed and shimmering with renewed energy, wafted closer to Dave's sleeping form. "I don't think he's shut down. Look, he's still doing that weird in and out thing with his chest cavity." Breathing supplied a helpful Valaxian who had just crossed the finish line. "I believe it's called breathing. Apparently humans have to do it constantly or they cease functioning. Terribly inefficient, if you ask me." The head race official, a dignified being composed entirely of gravitational waves, pulsed in consternation. "Well, we can't just leave him here. The awards ceremony is scheduled to begin in 15 minutes. Someone wake him up." A brave or foolish Florbonian extended one of its sensory tendrils towards Dave, gently poking him in what it hoped was a non-vital area. Dave responded with a noise that sounded like the unholy union of a snore and a growl, causing the Floorbonian to rapidly retract its tendril and scuttle backwards. Perhaps Sparkle 7 suggested we should just let him recharge. He did mention that humans have some sort of internal power source that needs replenishing. The head official's gravitational waves rippled in frustration. But the ceremony, the press, we have a schedule to maintain. Just then, Dave's eyes snapped open. He sat up so quickly that several nearby aliens instinctively engaged their defense mechanisms. One turned invisible, another inflated to twice its size, and a third simply fainted. "Did someone say press?" Dave asked, his voice rough but his eyes suddenly alert. As in, people who want to talk about how awesome I am for winning this race. The head official, taken aback by Dave's sudden revival, pulsed an affirmative. "Why, yes, the Galactic Sports Network is here to cover the awards ceremony. But you were. We thought you were. How are you functioning again?" Dave grinned as he stood up, stretching muscles that should, by all rights, have seized up completely during his brief nap. "Oh, that was just a power nap. Another secret human weapon in our endurance arsenal. You'd be amazed what a 5-minute snooze can do for a guy." The assembled aliens watched in fascination as Dave bounced on the balls of his feet, looking far more energized than anyone who had just run 1,000 galactic units had any right to be. So Dave said, clapping his hands together, about that awards ceremony. "I don't suppose you folks have coffee? No? Ah, well, guess I'll have to rely on good old-fashioned adrenaline. Nothing like the prospect of fame and glory to get the juices flowing, am I right?" The head official's gravitational waves fluctuated in what might have been a sigh. "Very well, Deathworlder Dave. If you're recharged, please follow me to the podium. Try not to alarm the press with any more displays of your species' unique abilities." As Dave followed the official, the crowd of aliens parted, many of them instinctively giving the human a wide berth. Whispers and murmurs rippled through the gathering. "Did you see that?" One moment, biological shutdown. The next, fully operational. Are all humans like this? Great cosmic void, I hope not. Can you imagine a whole planet of them? The awards ceremony was a spectacle unlike any the Galactic Ultra-Marathon had seen before. Dave stood on the highest platform of the podium, grinning from ear to ear, while the second and third place finishers, the Valaxian and a particularly athletic sentient fungus, flanked him on slightly lower platforms. The head official hovered forward, carrying what appeared to be a trophy made of pure energy. Deathworlder David intoned solemnly, "On behalf of the Galactic Athletic Commission, I present you with this year's Ultramarathon trophy. Your performance today has been eye-opening for us all." As Dave accepted the trophy, which tingled pleasantly in his hands, a swarm of what he assumed were journalists moved closer. They were a motley crew, some wielding old-fashioned notepads and hover pens, others seemingly recording the event directly into their various sensory organs. A bold Arcturian reporter, looking like a cross between a squid and a disco ball, extended a tentacle mic towards Dave. "Deathworlder Dave. Exlorp for Galactic Sports Network. Can you explain to our viewers across the galaxy how you managed to outlast species specifically evolved for endurance?" Dave, still high on victory and what was probably an unhealthy cocktail of endorphins and synthetic energy supplements, flashed his most charming smile. "Well, Exlorp, can I call you Exlorp? It's quite simple, really. You see, humans have this thing called stubbornness. It's like a superpower that activates when someone tells us we can't do something. The more impossible the task, the more determined we get." Another reporter, this one a floating cloud of psychic energy, pulsed inquisitively. "But surely, Dave, there must be more to it than that. Our scans showed your body approaching critical failure multiple times during the race, yet you persevered. How is this possible?" Dave chuckled. "Ah, well, that's the beauty of the human body. You see, we've evolved to have multiple layers of nope, not done yet. First, there's our normal energy. When that runs out, we tap into our reserves. When those run out, we start burning fat. After that, it's pure spite and caffeine keeping us going." The gathered reporters scribbled, pulsed, and generally recorded this information with a mixture of awe and horror. The Zorgax journalist in the back raised a gravelly voice. "But what about the thing you consumed near the end of the race? Our scanners couldn't even classify it as food." Dave's grin turned slightly sheepish. Oh, that's what we call sports nutrition. It's a human invention. Think of it as edible rocket fuel. Tastes terrible, probably takes years off your life, but boy does it keep you moving. The press conference continued in this vein for some time, with Dave cheerfully explaining and possibly exaggerating various aspects of human physiology and psychology. The alien journalists lapped it up, alternating between fascination and thinly veiled terror at the implications of a species that treated its own biological limits as mere suggestions. As the ceremony wound down, Sparkle 7 wafted up to Dave. That was quite a performance, both in the race and just now. I have to ask, is it true? Can all humans do what you did today? Dave's expression softened a bit. Well, not all humans are ultramarathon runners, if that's what you're asking. But the potential? Yeah, that's in all of us. It's not about being the strongest or the fastest. It's about being too stubborn to quit, even when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to stop. Sparkle 7 shimmered thoughtfully. That's both inspiring and terrifying, Dave. I'm not sure whether to be in awe of your species or deeply concerned for the rest of the galaxy. Dave laughed, slapping Sparkle 7 on what he hoped was its back. It was hard to tell with a sentient cloud of glitter. Why not both? That's generally how we feel about ourselves most of the time anyway. As the alien crowd began to disperse, still buzzing with excitement and trepidation about the implications of human endurance, Dave found himself alone with his trophy and his thoughts. He looked down at his battered running shoes, caked with the dirt and detritus of a dozen alien worlds, and smiled to himself. Well, he muttered, guess I'd better start training for next year's race. Wonder if they'd let me bring a bike. Back in the lecture hall, Professor Zyx'norp's gelatinous form quivered with excitement as he concluded the story. And that, class, is why humans are considered one of the most fascinating and terrifying species in the galaxy. Their ability to push beyond their limits, to recharge in ways we can barely comprehend, makes them a force to be reckoned with. A Florbonian student raised a tentative appendage. Professor, if humans can do all that, why haven't they taken over the galaxy yet? Zyx'norp's epidermis rippled with what might have been a chuckle. Ah, excellent question. You see, for all their incredible endurance and determination, humans have one critical weakness: they're easily distracted. One moment they're on the verge of unlocking the secrets of the universe. The next they're spending hours watching videos of small furry earth creatures called cats. It's quite fascinating, really. Another student, a sentient fungal colony, raised a spore-covered tendril. But Professor, surely their ability to recharge so quickly makes them dangerous. What if they decided to use this power for conquest? Zyx'norp's form pulsed thoughtfully. A valid concern, young sporling. However, we must remember that human recharging is not unlimited. They require regular periods of extended unconsciousness. They call it sleep to function properly. Without it, they become irritable, irrational, and prone to hallucinations. Some xenobiologists theorize that this is actually an evolutionary defense mechanism to prevent humans from accidentally taking over the galaxy while sleep-deprived. The class collectively exhaled in relief, those that had respiratory systems anyway. Besides, Zyx'norp continued, his speech glands emitting a soothing pheromone, humans have shown far more interest in joining the galactic community than conquering it. They're driven by an insatiable curiosity, a desire to explore, to understand. To push not just their physical limits, but the boundaries of knowledge itself. A Valaxian student's energy field pulsed inquisitively. So, Professor, you're saying we should not fear humans, but admire them. Zyx'norp's entire being seemed to smile. Fear, admire, be utterly baffled by all are valid responses to humanity, young one. The important thing is to approach them with an open mind. After all, any species that can invent both faster than light travel and energy drinks in the same century is bound to keep things interesting. As the class bell rang, or rather, as the psychic signal indicating the end of the lesson pulsed through the school's hive mind, Zyx'norp gave a final ripple. For next class, please prepare a comparative analysis of human coffee and Zorblaxian hyperfuel. And remember, if you encounter a human, never, ever challenge them to an endurance contest. Unless, of course, you enjoy being thoroughly and embarrassingly defeated while they cheerfully explain how they're just getting warmed up. The students filed out, their various appendages and sensory organs buzzing with excited discussion about humans and their peculiar ways. As the last student left, Zyx'norp allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. Humans, he gurgled softly to himself. Just when you think you've got them figured out, they go and surprise you. Rather like a sentient jar of expired yogurt, constantly evolving, occasionally explosive, and always interesting. With that profound, if somewhat unsettling thought, Professor Zyx'norp oozed out of the classroom, already planning next week's lesson: human mating rituals, a cautionary tale in pheromones, pickup lines, and the dangers of tequila. The galaxy, it seemed, would never be quite the same now that humans had joined the interstellar community. But then again, as any human would tell you, a little chaos just makes things more fun. As long as you remember to recharge your batteries along the way.